Look at the first problem. The first problem says that a matrix is called symmetric if A transpose equal to A and skew symmetric if A transpose equal to minus A. Let A and B be symmetric matrices of the same size. Then we need to show that AB is symmetric matrix if and only if AB equal to BA. And also we have to show that any square matrix can be written as sum of symmetric and skew symmetric matrices in a unique way. Okay, so here, because we have to prove if and only if statement. Okay, so first we prove the forward implication. Okay, so let AB equal to BA, reverse implication, I'm sorry. So first let AB equal to BA, then AB transpose is equal to BA transpose because A and B commute with each other, which is then equal to A transpose B transpose. And because so A transpose B transpose, and that is equal to AB. And so therefore AB is symmetric because it is given to us that A and B are symmetric matrices to begin with. Therefore A transpose and B transpose will be the matrices itself. Okay. Now the converse part. So we assume that AB is symmetric. So if AB is symmetric, then B times A is equals to B transpose A transpose. Okay, but that is equal to AB whole transpose. But because AB is symmetric, AB whole transpose is equal to AB. Okay, next, the next part of the question is, I hope this is clear to everybody. So we move on to the second part of the question. It says that, so here there are two things in the second part. First is the existence that we have to prove, and next we have to prove the uniqueness. The existence of the decomposition A holds. A is any matrix. So A holds because A can always be written as half times A plus A transpose plus half times A minus A transpose. And the first part being the symmetric matrix and the second A minus A transpose, this is skew symmetric matrix. Okay, so the existence is clear. Now we have to see that this is the only way in which matrix A can be decomposed. So let us assume that A is equals to C plus D, where C is symmetric and D is skew symmetric. Okay, if we have this, therefore, because A is symmetric, we do A transpose with this equation. So A transpose turns out to be C transpose plus D transpose, which is equal to C minus D. So now we have two equations. One is A equal to C plus D and the other is A transpose equal to C minus D. So we can solve for the two matrices C and D, and therefore we get C equal to this and D equals to this, which is uniquely determined. So therefore C and D are uniquely determined, and therefore this decomposition is unique. I hope this is clear. Any questions?
No, there are no
Okay.
questions.
Okay, so we move on to the next problem. So matrix, a square matrix A is said to be nilpotent if A to the n is equal to 0 for some n greater than equal to 1. First, let's assume that A and B are nilpotent matrices of the same order. So we need to show by an example that A plus B and A into B need not be nilpotent. That is, the sum of two nilpotent matrices need not be nilpotent, and the product of the any two nilpotent matrix need not be nilpotent. So any one of you have got any example for this question? A, B. This is a tutorial class, so I hope you have solved the assignments because everyone was asking me, should we submit it? So please share your solution. You can speak it out. Do you have any matrix? Anyone? Any response, sir?
No, they are asking whether what is the meaning of the order of a matrix.
Order of a matrix.
Size, is it
Size.
size? Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
if it's a square matrix, then size is same as the order of the matrix. And I think they're asking the order or the nilpotency index. So that is the minimum n such that a to the n equal to 0.
Yeah. Fine.
Yeah,
You
so
can proceed. There is no other
okay.
question.
Okay, yeah. So we take A is equal to this square matrix. One thing to note here is that if we take A and B both to be 0, then the purpose will not be solved. We all know that 0 matrix is the favorite nilpotent matrix. But if we take A and B equal to 0, then the sum and the product would be equal to 0, which is again nilpotent. So that will not serve the purpose. Okay. So now we have these examples. So here note that take A equal to 0, 1, 0, 0 and b equal to 0, 0, 1, 0. So it is easy to check that a square is equal to 0 is equal to b square. That is a square and b square both are equal to 0. Okay. Next we need to check if ab is 0 or not. So we compute ab. This is just we multiply these two. Okay. So now we have this ab is equals to this. Then we it is easy to see that c square is equals to c, and therefore c raised to n is equal to c, because if c square is equal to c, then c cube is equal to c square times c, but c square is c, so again it will be c square. So by induction one can easily see that c to the n is equal to c, but c to begin with is not equal to 0. So therefore we have the following, that is c to the n is not equal to 0, and therefore c is not nilpotent. Okay, so and an interesting thing is that these two matrices will serve both the purposes. So if we take c prime equal to a plus b, and c prime square is equals to identity matrix. And identity matrix is not nilpotent because I to the n is equal to I for every n, which is non-zero matrix. So the sum is also not nilpotent. Next, we move on to the second part of the question. Okay, so in the second part of the question, we have to prove that the first part does happen under some conditions. So what is the condition? The first part happens provided A and B, the two matrices A and B commute with each other. We need to show this. Okay. So, and therefore, looking at the second part, if we have this question, looking at the second part, if we have to find the example of the first part due to contrapositive, it is obvious choice to look for the matrices which do not commute with each other. So, if you notice in this case, in the first part, we have purposely the matrices chosen as such that they do not commute with each other. A times B will not turn out to be equal to B times A. Okay. So we look at the second solution, the second part of problem 2. So let us assume that A and B commute with each other. So if it happens, then A also does commute with every power of B. So any idea how will we prove this? We know already that A and B are commuting. So how will we prove that A also commutes with every power of B?
Yeah. Prakhar has some. Prakhar,
Sorry?
somebody has a question. There is a lot of disturbance. Yeah. Okay. You can restart. Yeah. You can start again.
I can continue? Hello?
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
Okay. So A commutes with every power of B. We need to prove this. Okay, to prove the claim, we show that A and B to the n, they commute with each other. Okay. So for this, we use induction on M. So we need to show that ABM is equals to BMA. So how do we go about it? For M equal to 1, it is clear because it is given to us already that A and B commute. So A into B to the M can be written as AB times B to the power M minus 1. Okay, so this will be equal to P times A. I can switch A and B because I know that these two commute with each other. Okay, so because of this, I can write it this way. But here, when we look at the last two product in this expression, the last two matrix, these are matrices A and B to the m minus 1, which also commute. Why do they commute? Because we are using induction. So this claim, this particular sentence holds for m minus 1. So therefore, we can switch this. We can switch this, and we have b into b to the m minus 1 times a, which is equals to bm times a. Okay, so we started with a times b to the m, and we got that to be equal to bma. Okay, so these two do commute. Okay, hence the claim. Thus, now we look at this a plus b whole square. So a plus b whole square, usually we have the identity that a plus b in numbers, a plus b whole square is equals to a square plus 2ab plus b square. This we've been learning since we were a kid. So, but that happens. Why does that happen? Because we already assume, if you literally sit and by the distributive property and by element wise, if you properly manually, if you compute it, then you will see that it is not 2 times ab, but it is ab plus ba that comes up there. But we write it as 2ab because these two commute with each other. So b times a can be written as a times b and then clapped up together to be 2ab. Something similar we do here. Okay, so a plus b square is equal to this, and the same thing we have here, but here b times a equal to a times b. So therefore we have this. Now, as soon as we look at this, so here this is clear that we have to compute a plus b to the n, because we have to show that a plus b is nilpotent, right? So we have to compute a plus b to the n. So we start with computing a plus b square, and this is similar to the binomial theorem, binomial expansion. So therefore, we have that a plus b to the n. Also, we can expand by using binomial formula inductively. So because a and b are given to be nilpotent, let us assume that there exists some m and n such that a to the m equal to 0 and b to the n is equal to 0. Okay. So once we have this, then in the binomial expansion of a plus b to the m plus n, what kind of terms will appear? The expression that will appear in the binomial expansion is the following. It will be the sum of some constant times a to the I into b to the j, where I plus j is exactly equal to m plus n. Okay, so therefore we have a to the I, b to the j, where I plus j is equal to m plus n. Now we see here that in that expression, every term will have a factor of a raised to m, or each term will have a factor a to the m or a factor b to the n. Why will it happen? Let's say that we have the expression of the form a to the I, b to the j, where I plus j is equal to m plus n, right? So what will happen if I is strictly less than m and j is strictly less than n? Can that ever happen in this binomial expansion? In this binomial expansion, a to the I, b to the j, and I plus j is equal to m plus n. So can it happen that I is also less than m, strictly less than m, and j is also strictly less than n? No, it cannot happen. Yes, very good, Naman. It cannot happen. Why it cannot happen? It cannot happen because if I is less than m and j is less than n, then I plus j will be strictly less than m plus n, which is not at all allowed because we want I plus j to be exactly equal to m plus n. Okay, and therefore, as soon as we have a factor of a to the m or b to the n in the expression, it becomes easier for us. Why? Because if this happens, then it is equal to 0 by the assumption given on the matrices A and B, because those two matrices are indeed nilpotent. Okay. So therefore, we have this result now that A and B are nilpotent matrices. It is not necessary that A plus B or A into B will be nilpotent. But in the case when A and B commute with each other, it does happen. Okay. Next, we have to show that A times B is also nilpotent. So what do we do for that? A times B raised to n is equal to A raised to n times B raised to n. Why does this happen? How is this happening? We just know that A and B commute with each other. Why is it happening that A times B to the n is equals to this? Yes, well, that also works, but taking n equal to maximum of n and m. But for that, you need to have that A times can you justify, Naman, taking n equal to maximum of n and m? Yeah, exactly. But for that, you need to have this, right? You need to have that A to the n times B to the n is equal to. You need to have the very first equality, right? How is this coming? This is coming because, yeah. So this is coming because of the following we have already shown. So A times B whole raised to n. Whenever you see any statement about the matrices and it involves n and something that you want to prove, or you want to prove something else, but in between it is the intermediate step, then it is very good to go by the option of induction. Okay, so we go by the option of induction. So if we take n equal to 1, again these two commute, we know that. So for n equal to 2, how will this look like? It will look like AB times AB. AB times AB, right? So what is that? AB square A. We know that A and B commute with each other, and because of our claim, we know that A and B square also commute with each other. So therefore, AB square A can be written as A into B square, okay, which indeed is equal to A square times B square, which matches with the RHS when n equal to 2. Okay. So similarly, just use induction, assume it for n minus 1, and then you can easily prove this using this claim. This claim is required, and this claim requires that A and B commute with each other, right? So A and B commuting with each other in this problem is very crucial assumption, which cannot be avoided.